it's a straightforward thing. It's a podcast, so it's not a formal interview. So I'm not going to go into specifics of saying, "Are you this? Are you that?" It's just, hey, let's just have a chat. Let's be as real as possible on any level. And I would like a few questions as well that you would like to ask. All right. The first things first. I'd like to say really welcome to the TNN podcast. It's not only a pleasure having you on. It's a very, very honorable situation we found ourselves in, because we are in alignment with people who know you from history, from the past, and people who actually are engaging on your behalf to say, hey, look, this guy has a lot of value in terms of giving back and in terms of being active from the diaspora space. So we want to align with that, and obviously, join that bandwagon and say, look, if JyellowL is saying stuff, it's because we represent what they're saying. That's why we are more or less happy to jump in it and run away with it as well.
Absolutely. Yeah? I'm excited to talk about this. Thank you.
So really, it's really up to you, really, in terms of giving us a few nuggets of growing up in Benin. Let's kick off from there, because I'm from Benin, and it's a special place for me. I was born in Newcastle, but
right.
I grew up in Benin big time. I mean, so let's start from earliest memories you can remember from Benin, and then we'll see if we have an alignment. Then we'll pick it up from there.
Yeah. My earliest memories from Benin, it's been very much based around family. Most of my memories from childhood, I spent a lot of time growing up with my grandparents. In fact, they practically raised me. It was an interesting experience. It wasn't all glamorous. I don't want to be romantic about it. Like it was nice because my grandmother is Jamaican, so the house that we were in was pretty much a Jamaican household. But then we'd go out to school and stuff, and we'd be in Nigeria, in Benin, Edo State, and my friends, and just comparing and contrasting my lifestyle with that of my friends, and just our experiences, our family lives, etc. was very, very. I had a very culturally unique experience. You know what I mean, in that sense. So that's one I very much valued. The schools that I went to, the people that I got to be around, family and everything. I was lucky to have those kind of people who were, I'd say, more enlightened than most to what our situation was, and who really tried to instill a sense of empowerment and just pride of where you were from, our culture, our heritage and everything, and just really wanted to make us aware from the get-go. And when I say we, I mean my brothers and I, make us aware from the get-go of where we were from, and our value in being where we were from, and just a value in our family name and everything. And that's something they really made an effort to, get in our minds very early on. So it was great. I remember, I'm saying I remember it was that long ago. It wasn't actually that long ago. It was about 8 years ago.
It's been a long time.
But I remember I was in school for most of it. I was in primary school at the time. Started off in Agbeye. That's my earliest memory of school, Agbeye. And then I went to OLA.
Okay.
I know there's probably an alignment there, because I know
There's a big alignment, because before it became OLA, it used to become a Moulton Primary School, Moulton Nursery School.
Yeah,
there used to be smaller Moulton and then bigger Moulton. I don't know if you know, but in Benin then there was a huge competition among schools. So Moulton used to always be, so which is OLA now on the level, used to always be right up there, with all the competition. So if you go there on the level, you've got some kind of legendary status going. Because when you meet other people who went to OLA, there's a lot of comparison and alignment there. Good to know that. So there is already an alignment. So we're old boys of the same kind of nursery.
Yeah, I had a feeling. But I always had the sense of that, because my grandma was very she was hell bent on putting us in OLA. Like, it was going to another school wasn't even an option. It was Yeah, it was great. And then after a while, we came to England for a bit. We spent a year in England, and then came back to Benin. And then it was nice just reconnecting with all my friends. After not seeing them for a year, a lot of growth had happened in that year for both sides, and just the experience was then different because I started as a young child, when you're exposed to something new and then you go back to what you're used to, you see it differently, you know what I mean? You experience it differently because you now have a more informed perspective of what things actually are, what things can be, etc. And then I started picking apart certain things, being more critical of my circumstances and just like the circumstances of my friends and just the society in general. So that experience in itself was very interesting because there were certain things that I was like, whoa, hold on. This is not actually meant to be this way, because like I've seen it work better. And you know what I mean? Like things like like things on the security side of things, especially. Like in England when I was in school, we cycled to school every day, like a 25-30 minute cycle, and come back late hours of the night or whatever, and security was never an issue for us. But then in Nigeria, that wasn't even an option. You had someone driving us up and down, making sure we were in the house before dark, and etc. Because those, and I was, we're just very security conscious, and I realized that, wait, hold on, it shouldn't have to be like this. You know what I mean? This is not the experience this is not the only experience you can have as a child. That's something wrong with our society that we need to address and fix. And Benin it was cool. And then I went to ICC for a semester.
Okay.
Yeah, I hated it. I hated it.
Did you enjoy it?
No, I hated it. I can't lie. Oh,
the reason why I'm laughing, because the two schools you've mentioned, they've got significant importance in my upbringing as well. I didn't go to ICC, but I dreaded ICC in my school, my secondary school days. As in, I'm not kidding with the words. I dreaded it big time because it had a reputation for certain things and certain elements that were operating within the school. If you say you went to ICC during that era, because apparently right now it's really good because the missionaries have gone back and they've restructured the whole thing. It's actually one of the best secondary schools in Benin now, funny enough. Wow. Yeah, it's amazing, So if you were in ICC, probably around in the 90s, people would look at you like, look, you must be a member of a gang or something, because it was that bad, And what you said before in terms of that cultural uniqueness from Benin. You see, at the early age, I kind of clocked on that as well, because I hadn't been in the UK for a bit, very young, and then back to Nigeria, straight there. I still remember certain things that were taught in nursery school, which is small and modern, because I still have friends, and I kid you not, we still have WhatsApp groups from friends from primary school. Honestly, that went to that smaller Moten, and then the group that went to the bigger Moten, we still have that alignment, and that's because we share similar culture. So that made that uniqueness really, really solid, And then I know you talked about the changes in the system, right? You see, when it's different from your probably generation on the level to mine, because we actually enjoyed all of that security. This is why we see things different on the level, because we enjoyed that level of security. You could go out and play as much as you want, come back anytime. You don't need to worry about security. So I saw and witnessed all these things breaking down in society. See, whereas you probably caught the end of it falling apart already, I was in the situation where we saw it really good and then we saw it deteriorate. And this is why we have that kind of confidence or alignment to say, no. There was a point in time when it used to be like this. It used to be comparable to what you see here, for crying out loud.
What caused it to break down?
This is part of what we are addressing and what we're talking about. I'm sure you had uncles or cousins who, probably olders, who used to come and go from the UK, like no one's business in the early days. because it
Yeah.
was cheap, the money was valuable, and obviously the economy was kind of booming, you know.
Mm.
But split the generations now. You see a situation where we might have young individuals out there, probably younger than you now, who know nothing about Nigeria but just the sad state of affairs. So they never
Mm.
saw it really good, you know? They never
Mm.
saw the schools booming. They never saw the competitions with these schools. They never saw the competition with America and abroad because we were on that level. You know,
Mm.
so, I mean, being in my mid 40s now, so I'm looking at a situation where I'm saying 30, 40 odd years ago,
Yeah.
which in terms of growth is not too long. You
No,
see?
that's
So because I've seen it or we've seen it, so we know that it can change because after all, it just changed to what it is. So it can change back on a level, but it has to be amplified.
absolutely.
So yeah, that's great stuff. It's good to know your your history in terms of that growth.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
the thing that I was a little bit curious about is, okay, while you were growing up, did you get into music while in Benin or while growing up? Were you already, maybe rapping on a level or doing some
Mm.
certain things? The reason I said that because I kid you not, guys from 10, 11, 12, 13, they're already ready. If they had the right environment, they will be ready to speak bars that you cannot imagine. But what was your
Yeah.
situation? Did you get into it earlier?
I was definitely always interested in it from even way younger than that. But I just didn't have the confidence or I didn't have the confidence to even pursue, like, even let people know that that's what I was interested in, because I always felt like it was stigmatized around where I was. You know what I mean? And the things that were prioritized around me were very much science oriented, like even for education, the school, all that kind of stuff. And the arts weren't really, like, just the people around me specifically, like, they just weren't really apart from, they weren't really supportive of that kind of thing. And it was kind of I remember people saying things like, "Oh, rap isn't real music," when I'd listen to, like, my Eminem album and stuff, like, just people around me and my family and that. They're like, "Oh, it's just talking fast," and that kind of stuff. So that kind of thing was just, it kind of it didn't really provide for an environment of a very expressive environment. You know what I mean? So I was just like, all right, come on, let me just keep it to myself. I was just doing it by myself privately, and then my big brother, who actually he had that interest as well, he decided to actually take that leap and start actually making music and just let everyone know. And at the time, I thought that was like one of the boldest moves like anyone could make, because
Was that in Benin as well?
in Benin as
Okay.
well. Yeah, he started working with producer in Benin at the time. He's going to studios, and he met a lot of people who sold him dreams as well. You know what I mean? Who made him, oh yeah, you do this, you bring this amount of money, and da 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 da. You know, but yeah, he was the first person who took that leap, and I was in awe of that. That kind of gave me confidence to be like, okay, if he can do it, and I watched how everyone responded to it, and they were actually supportive at that point when he had already decided to do it. So I was like, all right, cool. You know what I mean? I'm still gonna keep it to myself for now. But then he then picked up on my interest, because we were very close. We're very close to this day where we were, them were sharing a room and everything. I mean, so he would know. We just know the ins and outs of each other's lives. So he picked up my interest, and then he decided to help me nurture it. Like, he'd let me hear his stuff. He'd share techniques with me, etc. And later on in life, then he'd bring me to studios, pay for my studio sessions, just so I would, I could pursue it properly, and so my talent would flourish, not just fade away. He didn't want it to just die as an interest. You know what I mean? So so he was a big influence on me early on. But for a very long time, I was keeping it to myself, to the point that some people in my family just think I just became interested in music like 5 years ago or something. But it's because they don't know, because I wasn't expressing myself
Yeah.
on that level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the age group between you and your brother?
3 years.
Okay, 3 years. Okay. So, I mean, if he was influential at that level, so obviously you would be listening to the kind of artist he was listening to as well, and, you know, rapping style and all that, obviously, because I know you have a unique style, because I've listened to some of your songs, and I'm honest, not some, well, everything you got on Spotify, we've had to go through, me and my kids and a few other people back home. The reason why is because at that early age as well, when we used to hang out, rap music was literally just exploding in Benin. There was a period in time when it was exploding, like I would say 1991, you know, with the birth of, you know, gangster rap. Snoop, NWA, and the good stuff, EPMD, and the good guys coming through.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of people. This is in alignment with your musical journey now. There was a lot of boys who were very talented, right? I was never keen on freestyling and all that, but I used to try and organize this thing. So I used to see a lot of talent, you know, a lot. And one of the dreams that we all shared, and when I say all the boys in the crew was, oh yeah, when we get to, then we used to call London Jan, right? So when we get to Jan, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. So there was the dream, you know, of being a big rap star, or at least a big entertainer from Benin City. You know, all in view of, you know what, I'm going to show you I can do it, and then I'm going to come back and maybe either give back or show off, depending on how your disposition is, right? So I can categorically say you have achieved a particular kind of dream that some people right now are still harboring within them in Nigeria. Some kids who were 14, 15, 16, and you bear witness to me that they want to leave Nigeria either forcefully or intentionally. They want to leave to pursue that particular dream. You know, they know that they've got the ability to sing, they've got the ability to rap, they've got the ability to engage, but they're not too certain about the environment. So they see moving abroad like, hey, you know what, if I can get abroad, if I can get to the UK or get to America, you know, I can do something with it. But there is a challenge there that we don't understand, and you've experienced that challenge. You know, if you can tell us how that transpired for you, because coming from Benin, either with a dream or with a talent, and then expressing that talent and realizing it, I think there's a lot of value in there that can help maybe one or two people at that similar age with you when you left, to say, okay, look, X, Y, and Z might need to be in place, because they will come. Trust me, they will come by hook or by crook. But when they come, how do they engage, and where do they start, with or without help?
See, it's yeah. Looking at it from the outside in, it seems very simple and straightforward.
Yeah.
But there's so much to it. There's so many technicalities that you need to figure out. When I first came here, bear in mind, you're coming to a place where literally nobody knows you. Literally. So that's already a disadvantage. So even if you go through the already difficult process of finding a producer who makes kind of music that you want to make, that you're comfortable expressing yourself with and just being creative with, etc., and finding the money to pay for the studios, pay for the instrumentals, all of that stuff. Say you get past that part, which is actually the easy part, it then becomes a case of, now what? You know what I mean? Okay, you've made these songs. Where do you put them? Who do you push them to? Do you push them back in Nigeria? Do you try and, you know, force your way into this scene or this music industry and the overall society as well? And then the trick with that is when you then have to if you go the second route of, okay, let me try to force my way into this scene here, you have to then find people who are willing to listen, because nobody knows you. Again, I'm not joking about that. Nobody knows.
That's real talk, man.
Never mind is interested enough or intrigued enough to want to listen to something that you're that you're trying to propose to them or play for them.
Yeah.
And you then have to break the cultural barrier of, is this music actually relatable to this audience that I'm trying to push to? Like, are they actually going to, you may not see that at first, you may be naive to that at first, like, oh, it's music, music is music, it's universal, and da. But relatability is very, very powerful in music, especially, I've noticed, especially in hip hop, like it's relatability is key for most people. There's some people who just love artists because of how much they can relate with them, how much their music resonates with them. And
I think that's one of the key attributes of rap, isn't it? You have to be able to relate with it to really feel what the message is. You know, once you have that relationship or alignment, then you get where the rapper is coming from. It's kind of vital in the metaphorical way you put things together anyway, isn't it?
Absolutely. You know, it's so key, because you can listen to music just off the feel of it, but then what's gonna retain listeners for you is that element of relatability. You know what I mean? So once you start figuring that out, and actually like to make yourself known is very difficult. That's the most challenging part, because luckily for me, and I say luckily, but it was still very challenging. I went to school here, like I was in the school system. So I started around me. I started like convincing people around me, and I had goals every day. Like if I can put 5 new ears onto my music, or 5 new people were aware that I made music, then that's my goal for today. And then by the end of the year, I'll have probably about 500 people who would be into my music. But it wasn't that simple, because you know, you'd have to go out of your way to be overly sociable, and people are in school and not trying to, like, that's not what they're there for. So it's already inconvenient for them to pay you attention, never mind to listen to your music. And then you come there, and then every day you're blasting your music. You then get everyone aware that you do it. You're rapping, you're doing freestyles for every single person who asks, which gets annoying eventually. Every single person you meet is like, oh yeah, I'm a rapper, oh, let me hear something. You don't have anything to show, so then you then have to rap for them, and it gets annoying after a while. And you do that like literally over 100 times in the space of a school year or whatever, and then finally a few people are aware that, okay, that's that person, that's that guy who makes music, you know, word of mouth and all that kind of stuff. Then releasing the music, there's no guarantee that those people are going to be receptive to it, support it, and even share it. So you're even just living on a prayer there. But it's so much more complex than like, oh yeah, I'll just go over here and just, you know, make music there and just see what happens. Because no, it's bear in mind, wherever you're going, there's already an established industry there, you know what I mean, that you need to infiltrate. And that's very difficult. For so many years, I was convinced that the Irish music industry had it out for me. Like, I was convinced. I was like, I'm sending all these emails. I'm doing all the right things. No one's getting back to me. I'm even going physically to their offices. Knocking doors down. They're telling me, oh yeah, send an email. I send email, they don't respond. Like, but then I'm seeing people around me and they're getting like the support that I'm asking for. And I was convinced for so many years that was the thing, that they just didn't want to support me because I don't know why. Maybe because they couldn't relate to my music, or I was coming from somewhere else, or they didn't see me as Irish. I didn't know. I had all sorts of theories, and you know, I was, you know, but like now, it's kind of hard to even fathom that was a point in my life, you know, from someone else, you know, I mean, from someone else looking in, because of how much get behind me now, like the industry anyway, like radios and, you know, magazine, press, etc. Difficult now to know that at some point that was a thing. Like I went to so many seminars, more seminars that I could count, more meetups, and meet and greets and, you know, exposés, showcases, open mics, all of it. Like I went so many over, like the year that I started, I'd probably gone every single day to something, some event that was musical related, like every single day.
Yeah.
And people would sell you dreams. They'd be like, oh yeah, really talented. Oh yeah, da 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 da.
Yeah.
Send me an email. You send me an email, no response. You ring them, no response. You go to the office. Oh, sorry, it's not what we're looking for. Da 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 da. Like it's disheartening, you know. It's a challenging, very very challenging experience. Yeah, I think. Yeah, but that's the come up anyway, and it's still happening to this day. So.
It is in terms of hard work, right? I mean, that is exactly what is required. But as you can imagine, you just gave us a scenario that I wouldn't lie to you. I haven't really thought about that particular scenario. I mean, you're doing your stuff in school, you know, that is more or less hustling to get your material out, talking to your peers, you know, maybe even people older than you, but in the school environment, starting from there. You see, because when rap music came to Nigeria per se, I would use an example that I know of. For instance, EPMD. Remember, there's a track called about EPMD called "Please Listen to My Demo." So "Please Listen to My Demo" is basically about how he tried as much as possible. He and Eric Sermon and Paris Smith, they tried to really, really get their music out. So all the scenarios you talked about now actually played out in that song as well. You know, how they would go to producers' doors, knock on the door, talk to people, even stop people and, you know, freestyle just to gain some kind of recognition. Applying that in Nigeria, as you can imagine, where like we aligned on before, if you tell your mom and your dad in Nigeria that you want to be a rapper, that is one of the you understand, you know, where you have a situation where if you want to be something outside of maybe doctor, lawyer, engineer, you know, the core professions, if you hinting at doing something outside of those things, you know, that you might be sent to church for some kind of delivery, you know. And so you coming out straight up, which I think is a thing that is missing anyway. I think that's changing in Nigeria now because our parents are beginning to understand and appreciate creativity. You know, this is because we have people who have done it, come back successful on that level, showed the way and highlighted and amplified how. This is more or less what we're kind of doing as well. So just going back to what I was saying, so listening to that, you have a situation where many Nigerians, you know, and the guys who hear this would relate, you know, that is the format they know. They know that they have to hide their talent, you know, express it only in places where their parents might not even know about, you know, where they know my mom will never know that I went to this rap battle. She will never know I was on the radio. You know, they have to hide these things, you know, struggling with that, but still having that vision of, you know what, I want to take it abroad. You know, the reason why I'm using abroad because we are in diaspora is I want to take it abroad. I want to go and express these things abroad, but not understanding that if you come abroad, nobody has a clue who you are. And what you're going to be saying is going to relate to experiences you're having abroad, you know? So you find yourself in a double situation where you not only have to now realign your thoughts, your thinking to the environment so they can relate with your style, you know, before you now express the rest, which is work on its own. And then you have to tweak the material as well. So those are challenges for a young man, and as you can imagine how hard that is. Your advice to maybe a would-be rapper who is really good at 15, 16, back home in Nigeria now, he's ready to leave, right? His parents have given him the sanctions, you know, well, as to go ahead, no problem. Or maybe, you know, he's found ways to leave the country. What would be that advice to a young man or a young girl with those dreams, you know, wanting to come here and achieve? Is it don't give up, work hard, or understand the system, or all three, or you can add yours?
I think it's all three of those. They said that's really good advice to internalize, period. I also think if I'll answer the question, but if they feel like they have to leave for music to pursue their music career or to make it in music, that's something that, you know, needs to be fixed. You know, someone shouldn't feel like they have to leave their place of being, their place of origin to just so they can make it in music or in life, period. You know what I mean? I think that's that's a battle that we have to fight again, like, separately. But yeah, to answer your question, the thing that I would say, if you're so hell bent on, the idea that you're going to make something of your career once you get abroad, say just be prepared to be exposed to a lot of feelings, concepts that you may not have, like, your senses may not even be able to interpret, you know what I mean? Like when you get here trying to push your music to certain people and you experience racism, just try to push your music, then you realize, oh, wait a minute, this is actually gonna be a tougher battle than I thought, you know what I mean? Actually, this society already has their structures in place, and they already have their, everything happening. I have to find a way to work with, work with, not to just conform, but work with to get to where you want to get to. You know what I mean? That would be my advice. Just be prepared, expect the unexpected, and just humble yourself to a point where you're willing to realize that you don't have all the answers, and you're willing to work from ground zero. You know what I mean? So those are the key. Those are key things, but you have to be willing to work. Absolutely. It's difficult.
And I guess the age is not a factor there. Regardless of what age you are, you have to put in that work. No one is going to give it to you on a platter of gold.
No one is giving you handouts, especially if you're an outsider. Why would they give it to you? You know what I mean? Even to this day, I feel like there's certain opportunities and stuff that are kind of reserved for people who are indigenously Irish. I feel like that because it will never be said. Like, no one will ever say it.
Yeah, of course.
Indirectly in different situations, it kind of comes to light. Like when, someone can say something good about you, or can be talking about you and someone else, some of your peers, they'd be saying something good about you, but then when they talk about the other person, they'd be like, but this guy, he's real, like he represents the real essence of Ireland, real essence of Dublin, or da-da-da-da-da-da. And what they're indirectly saying is, like you're good for you're good for music, like your music is good, but this person speaks it represents Ireland more, and he speaks to this country more. I mean, then that's just, so I prefer this person because of that. That's what they're saying, but not saying. So I feel like those certain people, even when you do shows and stuff, and you see how people react differently, and just like, and which I get, like I can't be mad at it because it is what it is. You know what I mean?
You're right.
It is, but
there's always going to be that unconscious.
Absolutely. I mean, everyone fights their own battles. You know what I mean? Sure.
That unconscious bias is definitely one of the reasons why we are driving for a kind of narrative, and we're going to get into that basically from what you hinted at before, that somebody doesn't have to leave their environment to feel they need to go somewhere to be successful. But there is a reason why this is happening, and this is going to continue happening until things change, until narratives change, until certain kind of leaders emerge. And this has nothing to do with profession or ideas. It's basically an individual rising up to say, hey, based on thought leadership, this is what I do, this is what I can do, this is what I can give back, so people understand. Before I go into that side of things, what about your friends though? Guys that you kind of went to school with? Because I know secondary school in Nigeria is one of the most exciting places that you can find yourself, as a teenager, because it's relatively freer than what you have here, and it's not kind of riddled with the kind of problems you would have here. Obviously, me being here and having family here, I've seen the educational system spot on, no problem. But there are certain instances within the primary and secondary school scenario that you would say, okay, maybe Africa edges is on that level on a cultural side of things. So that you would miss a lot of friends who you guys share those cultural values together. So do you have friends that that, hey, if you come into Benin, for instance, or you're going back to Nigeria, they're already telling people that you're that you're coming? Yeah.
Yo, I have my longest friend ever, from when I was growing up, when we were in actually OLA, like
Okay.
KG, like the KG years, that
Yeah,
type of
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
We really grew up together.
AG.
Jindu, every single time I come back, he's always, before I come, he has like a whole agenda of things prepared for me,
Yeah,
like for us to do activities and
yeah,
people to meet, etc. And to this day, he's very we communicate. We're not in constant communication, but we do communicate. And
yeah,
even though there's that much space and time between our friendship,
yeah,
the the friendship never it has never withered, and never it's still been as strong as when I was living in Nigeria type of thing. Every time we reconnect, I mean,
yeah,
um, yeah. So I have so many great friends, like some of them that I've been lucky enough to even see, either when I've gone back or when they've come here on holidays or whatever.
yeah,
And that's been very interesting. Like friends from my secondary school when I was in Asaba. Um, it's great because when you reconnect, there's a difference when you're speaking to people who have known you from a certain point in your life on, and you can't really tap into, or they can't really engage with certain elements of your being that you know were there before they met you, like just certain elements of your culture as well, like
yeah,
just your cultural makeup. Like, so when I see those my friends from back in the day, like when I was in school back
yeah,
in the day, the conversations we have and the memories that we have together are
yeah.
so interesting, and just like way more interesting than I could even like that even
Yeah.
like a
Because
lot
they
of the
remember, they remember a lot of those guys.
exactly.
I feel the same as well. Because anytime we go home, you see one or two people that you went to, old school with, and they start telling you about things, and you're right, you can't front with those guys. You know,
Yeah, sure.
it's only you have to be as real as possible. Obviously, things have changed, circumstances might have changed,
Mm.
and they get that, but you still have instances where they don't really expect you to be different.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, for
you know,
sure.
uh,
For sure.
and it's a good thing for us out here in the diaspora to make this to create this awareness and let other Africans, Nigerians, or people in diaspora know that the environment doesn't really change the individual per se.
Mm,
As long as we have the same values, we have the same goals, we share the same kind of vision, you know,
mm,
it's just our creative expressions that might be different on a level. The way we say
absolutely,
things, the way we amplify what we are or who we are. But the inner caucus of how we work is still the same, you know? So
absolutely. Uh,
it's
uh,
pleasing to know, you have that going on as well.
Absolutely, I just have to say as well. It also gives you more self-awareness as well, because
Right.
when you when you have certain personality traits or exhibit certain characteristics, and that someone from your past essentially is able to recognize, and like you'd be like, oh, you've always been like that, or you've always been doing that, da, 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you more aware. Oh wait, like because you might not actually be conscious or cognizant of the fact that that's something that you've always done, or that's a way that you've always been. You don't
Yeah,
pay attention to those kind of things, but when someone you know picks up on those things and reminds you of who you are,
yeah,
to sound dramatic or anything, but reminds you of who you are, it's a very it's a humbling experience as
it
well.
is.
Like, oh wow, you know what
It
I
is.
mean?
It
This
is.
is powerful for
I
sure.
mean, it's a bit like, the first time we had a chat when I told you a little story. I wouldn't say that now about, how I know your grandmom and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So instances like that. So anytime you go back, home, where you see these people that kind of kickstart your memory to make you realign with core values or just ethical cultures that can push progress. It's humbling. It's the least we can say. It's really humbling.
Mm.
Just as we get along in this conversation, it's been fantastic. I want to know more about hard work and struggles, and how us here in the diaspora, for instance. Another key thing you said, as relating to, we shouldn't really go away to experience a level of success, right?
Absolutely.
Now we're here, and it's not changing the fact that we're Nigerians and where we're from. But the truth of the matter is, we have a problem within the situation in Nigeria, not just on the political side, but obviously on the entertainment side and the educational side as well. And this problem is broad, right? If we narrow it down to what affects probably yourself and myself, it would be, okay, we want more empowerment for our peers. We want more voice for our peers because we know we have this talent, we know we have this ability. So music as a tool, something that you've more or less mastered, you've seen push you through thick and thin, and it works. So how can you now transgress that prowess that you have into empowering, maybe people in the diaspora and people in Nigeria, not necessarily through a message, but maybe through appreciation of talent or creative sticking out? Or what would be something you could suggest that can help with that expansion of what we are suffering?
Like one of my goals in music has always been to be able to empower other people that are in my similar situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I know the struggles I faced, and I know what I could have done with, like, what kind of help would have been appreciated at the time, what kind of guidance. So that's something that I also want to bring back to Nigeria as well, because I know in Benin, from growing up, like, some of our biggest events were based around entertainment, whether it be comedy or music. I remember every December we'd go to Night of 1,000 Laughs, and
yep, it's still the same.
Yeah, and that was a big thing for us. Like in Benin, like that was a serious event for us. The people they loved that. You know what I mean? That's something that we enjoy. We enjoy the entertainment. But then also the Benin crowd is a very, very different crowd, very different to like a Lagos crowd or something.
Oh, yeah.
I think a Benin crowd is more receptive to a certain type of personality than
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I don't even know if it's best to just give the fine details of my plans here, because I know from experience that's kind of stuff that stops it. But I'll give an overview of what, like, I want to be able to bring the structure to where I'm from, like Edo State, Benin City, for people who have a talent that they're not sure what to do with it. You know what I mean? They're not sure anything in the arts. They're not sure how to go about it, or how to even nurture the talent. Like, how do I, there might be people who may be great singers, but then they don't know how to structure a song.
Right.
They don't know how to write lyrics.
Yes.
Or they don't know how to perform, that kind of thing. So I want to be able to facilitate their journeys, and especially the early phases of their journeys. And yeah, that's something I want to do here as well, and also back home for sure.
I think that's a very, very important thing. I'll tell you, I'm under the impression that there's a thing called not too young to lead. From a political point of view, it was actually a drive in Nigeria a few years back, and that has applied to all facets of life, right? In music, like what we're talking about now. I mean, all great artists that they started from a young age, but what we know is that they all give back. At some point, they all give back. So either they go into some form of activism later on in life, or they align with certain kind of change, or they do something with their creativity. That's a given. The ones who normally don't give back, you hear stories about them, and some of them end up being either you're recluse or nobody really cares anymore, because you missed that trick. You hinted at a few things. Now on our platform, we've been for the last 6 weeks, for instance, we've been engaging with a lot of professors, doctors, and people from the educational intellectual side of things, so we can find the alignment that is missing. And find out how to do things. You hinted now on, you want to give back on a level so people would know, basically how to write a lyric is an educational value. So people might not know that, how to go about that process of taking your lyrics or maybe fine-tuning it or nurturing your career. Some people don't know that, right?
Absolutely.
But what we do know is that most people have this talent, especially most Africans. We have a natural talent. It's a natural mystic that we have going, but we lack that leadership and we lack that help and we lack the support, right?
Absolutely.
Because a lot of things have happened to more or less bastardize the situation of progress. So if you were saying, or rather, if you're willing to, put yourself forward on that level, the possibilities, or rather the value is endless to what you can achieve.
For sure.
We started the call with me telling you on a level that, almost 30, 40 years ago, or almost 30 years ago when hip hop hit Nigeria, there's a lot of talent that were coming through that year, a lot, but we didn't know what to do with it. You had people reciting the whole of, let's say, the Chronic album by Dr. Dre from top to bottom, Eminem's album, as in they would speed everything and maybe even do it better, but there's nothing to do after that. Nobody to really, drive that for them. Nobody to say, okay, look, either here's a platform or here's what you do, here are things you can do. No, and we still struggle with that because we don't have mentors like you that have actually gone through that particular system, right, at the tender age, taking it to a level that we know is now operational, and then bringing it back to say, okay, X, Y, Z needs to be in place, plus your talent and your creativity. Then you have a level of success guaranteed.
Absolutely.
If that's not guaranteed, then let's shift the focus. So we don't have those kind of, we don't have enough of those individuals, right?
Sure.
We might have the ones in Nigeria who are doing what it is because they're there in that environment. So we work with what they have. But us in diaspora who have identified that, okay, what, we can give back, they needs to be, or rather we're pushing to see, how can we generate that help from, guys like yourselves, guys who we know are there are a lot of Nigerian rappers out there these days, that can give back based on the fact that the need is there for these other young entertainers.
Absolutely.
The struggles and dreams of hard work shines when we see stuff like what you've done. Your song, for instance, on the FIFA soundtrack, I know for a fact that since I engaged with you, I've spoken to a few people I play FIFA with, even back home. My son has spoken to a few people he plays with. And it's a whole level of thinking when they realize that you're a Nigerian. It's a whole different ballgame because they take a step back and they be like, wow, there's an achievement that they probably didn't expect to happen.
Yeah.
But it's not a fluke. And it's something I would like to, just put forward for you now to say, look, okay, to attain that level of success, it's not a fluke, but the how is what you can help us address on the level.
Yeah, you see, they say the luck is where opportunity meets preparation, and I fully believe.
Yeah.
Because there are certain opportunities that you miss out on simply because you're not prepared for them. You're not at the level to avail of that opportunity at that current moment in time. Like the how is just it's the dedication to quality as well, dedication to quality, and just that quality control process that you have to go through the early stages of your career. Like even when from writing the lyrics to the production to how the track is mixed to how it's mastered, you're always listening to, like, I always listen to my projects or my songs after they're done, I think, and then I'd compare like the quality of just the music and the sonically and just sonically, intellectually, and just even down to the finer details of the lyrics with some of the greats that I look up to, and I'm like, okay, nah, the mixing is like it's not clean enough. My vocals aren't clean enough. The production, the kick isn't knocking enough or something, or like, nah, what I'm saying, I could have said it better, or it could have been more effective if I used maybe less words and less words but better placed words. Or maybe I didn't expand on this enough. I need to expand because if I listen to this person, I don't know what I'm talking about. Or, oh man, it could it would work so much better if I put in this harmony to merge with the lyric that I'm trying to land, that I really want to get in people's head. Maybe that's what will make them remember it, because people remember melody more than they remember words. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right.
So maybe that's what worked for me. And then I just analyze things very critically and down to the finest details. And that's something that I have to. That's something that I had to make an active effort to do. You know what I mean? Like, that attention to detail when it came to music, and you know, I'm very happy that I had that, and that I had that mindset from the very beginning. That humility to know that, everyone can. All these people in this studio right now telling me, "Oh yeah, this is great, wow, they're so blown away, etc., etc., etc." But I know they're not going to see what I can see, or they're not going to hear what I can hear, because I'm hearing it from a far more critical standpoint than even my biggest haters. Do you know what I mean? I criticize myself way more than any hater can criticize me, and much more constructively. So I always like take everything people say with a pinch of salt, and I'd like all the compliments, because a lot of the time when you're doing something good, people are gonna focus on that. They're not focused on what. Not a lot of people are gonna focus on what you can do better, and when they do, those sort of unsolicited opinions can also annoy you. So what I learned to do was, before anyone was to make any judgments on my music, good or bad, I was already gonna do that. I was already gonna do that. So I spend long hours analyzing my lyrics, things I could have said better, things I could have enunciated better, like words I could have enunciated better, and just breaths that I could have taken in between to allow for the lyrics to be, you know, to come out smoother and cleaner. Just that that attention to detail there. Even on the production side of things, and I'd always say with my producer Chris Cabs, and I'd be like, yo, what can we do? Like, because we're doing this, it sounds good overall, but there's that finesse that we're missing. Like, what is that finesse? How do we get that finesse? The clarity of my vocals. Is it a weight? Do I have to layer my vocals? Is it something on your end on how you mix the vocals? What is it? Is it the mastering? What can we do? And we really break down all these tracks and all these other tracks, and we learn a lot through trial and error. Like, each time we feel like, oh yeah, we've made a breakthrough. In a couple of months, like, no, that's not the breakthrough. We need to do this and implement this, and I need to do this better. It's not even on you. You've done your job. Let me do that. All that kind of stuff. And just learning, especially when it came to like sync stuff and like publishing and all that kind of stuff, like publishing deals where you'd have them tell you like, yeah, no, there's something about your track. It's just not it's not fine. It's not like on a high enough level to, you know, get this kind of, you know, be on a soundtrack of something, or be, you know, the movie or whatever. And you'd be like, whoa. Like, initially, that kind of feedback is like,
it can throw you off.
Like, it could throw you off. Like, wow, but everyone is telling me this is great, and also, how come this person told me it's not? So then you start to realize, okay, wait, maybe I can start taking people's opinions less seriously and stop elevating their opinions, and actually just see it for myself and look at myself critically before, you know, instead of relying on people to do that for me. And then I was like, no, okay, so what do they want? And I'd actually go on soundtracks of like FIFA, actually, funny enough, soundtracks on FIFA. I've always been I've been a big FIFA player since FIFA 03. So the soundtrack is always.
I was a Pro Evolution. I only got into FIFA 2 years ago.
See, at one point I was juggling between FIFA and PES, but I've always preferred FIFA for sure.
That's all right. That's a conversation for another day, because you know that might split, you know, our thinking.
PES 06 and PES 08 though, those were some serious games.
Well, let's not do that, because we'll be here all day. Because all the soundtracks for those games, I still listen to them. Sometimes I still go just to listen to the PES soundtracks, because I thought they had the fattest soundtracks from before. You know, because they always used to drop at least one or two really cool rap songs, and you know. But now FIFA is up there, not just catching up, it's right up there. And, I have to give
Absolutely.
kudos for that, Yeah.
Absolutely. So I used to study the soundtracks of all my games, like FIFA, GTA, UFC, wherever it may be at the time, Mafia 2, whatever it was. I used to study all of the soundtracks, listen to the music. I'd go on the selection of music where they show you the actual soundtrack in the game, like what songs are with. I'd listen to them perfectly, and then I'd put my headphones in, like, okay, I hear that digital distortion that my music has, that's not present in this. How do I get rid of that? Maybe that's the problem. Oh wait, this person, they have like these songs. There's like a commonality between them, where they have a repetitive chorus at some point, or they have a bridge every couple of verses. So that's like a common thing amongst them. Maybe that's what they're looking for. And then I compare and contrast and just really like take everything in, and then revisit just revisit my music. And okay, if I presume that the music on this level, I guess to this level, where it can get on there, a soundtrack of FIFA or EA would reach out to someone to put their music on. That means quality wise, content wise, it must be cream of the crop. Like, so I need music to be no different to that quality wise. So I started just I dedicated myself to quality. And it was a big breakthrough when EA actually reached out first to have my track on their ad campaign, the Christmas ad campaign, my track Medusa. But then at the time, it was the same feedback. They were like, "Oh yeah, but we need to get it. You need to get it remastered because there's too much digital distortion on this and that." That was feedback generally at the time, and I was like, "Oh, so that's what it is, digital distortion. How do we stop this?" So they're saying it's the mastering. These are top class sound engineers. So like I went back to my team. I was like, "Look, we need to fix this issue." Like when I say my team, I mean me and my producer. Like, we need to fix this issue. How can we get rid of that? Is this something you can do? If you can't do it, let's outsource it. Like, let's just, because apparently my job is done. It's this side of things that needs to be done. And
exactly.
So, and he also had the humility to accept that as well and dedicate himself to that quality as well. So then that opportunity fell through because we were too late getting the master back. So I was devastated, but then rather than just be devastated, I was like, nah, okay, they didn't take this one. Let me make another one with that in mind. Now that I know what it is, let's do it. I know exactly what we need to do. And I made Ozone. And then,
so you did that specifically
based
on what has transpired. You see, that's a different narrative now. That's a really cool, inspirational story. So it was made out of, not failure necessarily, it was made out of like a feedback that you've received from a previous work. And Absolutely. So you looked at a situation and said, let me enhance this and push it and see.
And bear in mind, I'd already collected all of this information from analyzing soundtracks and, the songs on FIFA 18 at the time, like analyzing all the soundtracks and all the songs on there. So I already had all that information in my head. And now I actually had the feedback. So they didn't know that I had, in my head, I had exactly what they were looking for.
Exactly.
I just didn't have it, like, it wasn't materialized yet. So then when we had the track done, and I'm not saying instantly I knew, oh no, this is going to get on FIFA, but I was like, okay, if they come back saying, like, hopefully they give me more feedback, then I'll know exactly then I'll be closer to what it is and closer to, what they want. So when
I'm sure somewhere inside of you, by the time you finished making that soundtrack, you knew there was something in there.
Absolutely. Because in my head, I was like, okay, no, if they say no now, I don't know what else I can do because I've followed everything.
Apart from that, I can align with that because I've spent a lot of time in the studio as well. Obviously, I'm not an artist, but I've spent time with artists. The longest I've spent is 3 days in the studio in Utah, You know, we went to a SoundCloud music festival, and you know, we just decided to record there. I'm pushing my artist saying, no, we got to do it 3 days. So I know how we can get in the studio, and I know in the studio that there's a point where you finish something and you know everybody looks at themselves and they know that, you know what, that there's something in here, you know.
Absolutely.
But what I do know again is that that particular time is normally reached when there's a challenge. So if someone is giving you feedback or giving you a project, you know, if it's project or feedback driven, chances are you wouldn't really fail in delivery because you know what to deliver. You know?
You apply it.
Exactly. You know, so I didn't know that. You see, that's an exciting story for me because I didn't know you actually made that song specifically, you know, for that based on the feedback you had already gotten before. You know?
Yeah, for sure. And
really?
even on that, at the time when I made the track and when it was finished, the management that I had at the time and even my producer, they weren't like, oh yeah, it's a nice track, but they said it was just gonna, because I'd made 2 tracks in that same period, and then there was one that they were like, no, there was a track called Tech Time. They're like, no, this one is this. I
like Tech Time.
Yeah.
I like Tech Time. Well, I like it.
it's a good track as well, but they were that was the one. Like out of 2, that was the one, and I was like, nah, it can't be the one because based off the information that I have, like, you know, I don't think this is the one they're gonna take to. Yeah,
but, and you were right on that because Take Time is not it's a serious song. It's not a gaming song, you know. It's a serious song
for that kind of track, that kind of soundtrack. So they weren't, my management at the time and everything, they weren't too convinced by it, you know, by Ozone because which was I always and the reason I always say that is to say this, like you have to follow your own instincts as much as possible because, and again, back to the point of not overvaluing people's opinions as well, because at the end of the day, they're just opinions and they're not actually representative of the general population or the general scope or how receptive the wider audience would be to your music, you know what I mean?
Well, Les Brown, there's a guy called Les Brown who said people's opinion of you shouldn't be your reality, you know?
Absolutely.
So I've always stuck by that, so yeah.
Absolutely. You know what I mean? Like, you know, there couldn't be a truer statement. Yeah. But when that happened, and then all of a sudden, when EA came back saying, "Oh no, they want to use it for the full in-game soundtrack, etc." All of a sudden, everyone's like, "Oh, it's such a great song!" Like,
there you go.
Of course, I knew it would be this one. I was just like, "Look at these people, man!" I remember vividly how they're like, "Yeah, you know, Ozone just wanted that songs that'll just be there, but take time. That's one." I remember that exact conversation that I had this.
You know, it's funny. It's what's amazing about this alignment that we keep on talking about because I'm unlocking values. We're talking, and that value, people who would listen to it, we understand where they can get value from. You see, I listen to your songs short story. So I've been playing FIFA. I'm a gamer, proper gamer as well, and my kids are, and a lot of my friends are, right? Because it aligns with what I do as a digital person. But it helps me. But listening to Ozone, when I met you and when we talked about stuff, so I had to go back and listen to your albums and listen to your songs, right? And I knew I was going to have a chat with you. I said, okay, why did you do the song for FIFA? You know, were the other songs not good enough or were they not aligned enough? So I listened to about 3 or 4 of your songs to make my own opinion to see if they would fit into FIFA better than Ozone. So I listened to Take Time, I listened to Asylum, and I listened to Oh Lord, you know, and then a few other ones. I think those were the main ones that really, really got me going while I've listened to the rest as well. With Oh Lord is just, you know, it's very cool. I like it a lot, and I like it. We always listen to that. And then I listen to Asylum. Asylum is deep. You know, it's really, really deep. And if you're not like a proper like a hip hop person who knows how to reflect on lyrics, you might listen to it with Asylum, you know, or you can't relate with it, you know. And then Ozone came in. I give it to you on time, it's no kidding. Give it to you one time, it's opening. I've been cleaning up. I got FIFA 20 because I normally get those things pre-order because I pay for like that, you know. So and you know, it's just, listening to it, also living on the FIFA is kind of different, you know. it's different because of the instrumentals you have going. And you have some crazy things going inside that music, some really cool things that I'm trying to pick out what sound is this. Now I'm bringing life like a fruit with a seed in it, and I got a dice speaking truth for the cause. Run up with the mic on the track with no. And I'll talk to you about that maybe some other time if you can tell me what made that particular sound, So I listened to us and I said, well, this is a proper football song, especially if you're winning a game. That's the way I saw. That's the way I saw it. So what I started doing to get into it, I'll put it down. I'll play it on Spotify, turn my volume down, and I have it play when I'm playing the game. Right? So if I can align with it and the lyrics are telling me things to do, I'm like, yeah, it's really hitting home. So then knowing that you actually made the song for that purpose. So that gives it a very, very interesting journey.
For sure.
From my point of view,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely agree. I completely agree. The thing with the sounds, that's credit to my producer as well, Chris Caps.
I can imagine.
He's an ear for music.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, we've been here for an hour, and I really wanted to, it's all about getting to know you, and hopefully, as this journey continues, if you can align with the initiative, the diaspora initiative that we're doing. What it is, for instance, we have a chat like almost every week where we talk to people in diaspora and abroad, and at home, and try to form an alignment. And part of that is we have a network of people that maybe rappers in Benin that we can get hold of and say, hey, look, would you like to jump into a moderation call or mentoring call with Jay, or with, to give inspirational stuff as far how and when to do stuff? Is that something that you think you can give back 15, 20 minutes of your time if that happens? The reason being is because a lot of what you said today, right, I can amplify it as best as I can. But if you say to a boy who has listened to your song to say, look, just don't give up, it's different from them hearing it or, saying it to them. But if you're on a call or something and you say to these guys that this is how it's supposed to be, more than likely they will feel more empowered.
Yeah, sure.
So that's the kind of opportunities and we're trying to create an environment we're pushing to create with the platform. And it helps with our activism drive as well, because the narrative is, if we're part of the conversation, then we have an aligned change in sight. As long as we're talking about the growth we want, we're talking about the envisioned progress we want for Nigeria, that we don't want to let things go, belly up. How can we help? It's being part of the conversation. And this is where guys like you really, really become exceptionally valuable to our cause.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. Sure. That's something I deeply identify with. So I'm absolutely up for
that'd
whatever.
Be great. Okay, that'd be great. So I mean, it's a small task, but I mean, it's something I can pick up with you somewhere else in terms of best way to structure that. But it's nice to know that you're open to this kind of levels of giving back. We speak to a lot of people, and most people get, oh yeah, let's get this, let's do that, bring them. No, but we're pushing on a different level to say, would you be willing to give an audience specific advice and help? And that way is different from people just following you normally. But this will now be people who are really appreciative of the encouragement and support that you're giving to them based on the fact that you have an alignment with state of origin per se.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay, so I mean, that is one hour gone and even more. And honestly, from the way it is, I can go on and on and on and on. I would like to probably have a conversation in a few weeks when we've had some traction on our platform, especially from an educational point of view, because that's the big topic now. If that's okay for you to either join us on the platform for a one-off when we have all these people, and we can share lives from an educational point of view, how education is not just, in school. You can educate people from the streets with your music. It's nice to have a few information and nuggets from you to share as well, Jay.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yeah. Just let me as usual.
I'll definitely do that. But yeah, great stuff. I don't think it would be right if we leave without saying a few words to the people on a dialect that we understand, because the people need to know how it be, right?
Yeah.
I'm just going to leave it with you if you want to drop something, or if you want us to leave it, it's entirely up to you. But personally, I know how it be, and I know say you're off, but I know say we did try.
Yeah, let's see. I beg, this thing is 1 hour long, more than no vex, so I beg. But, but
Okay.
I don't know what else to say. I feel like we said so
Yeah.
much. I don't want to keep saying. I don't want to keep talking, man.
Awesome.
But
No, that's all right, Jay. I really appreciate it. But hey, look, just look out for. I'll try and work it out. Try and see if I can get a few artists together who really want that nuggets, especially from this side. You know,
yeah,
because there's no telling where that would go. You know.
yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot, Jay, for your time. Yeah,
Thanks so much.
I really appreciate it. Okay.
Appreciate that.
One
Thank
love.
you.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Mini producer.